Well, good afternoon, my friends. We're running just a few minutes behind, but I want to welcome you to this coffee hour. I think I know everyone in the room, but in case I do not, I'm Marl, and I have the distinct privilege and honor of serving as mayor of the great city of Saline. And a few preliminary things I want to take care of before we get started. On the table over here to my left, there's a sign-in sheet. I hope you'll sign in. You have to pass it around, thank you, Joe, wonderful. In addition to the sign-up sheet, if you want to hold that up, we have a City of Saline contact form. That is a very useful document. It's contact information for every one of our department heads, including our city manager, as well as a brief synopsis of what their responsibilities are. So I would note this rather emphatically, that everyone within city government is here to serve you. So anytime you have a question or concern and you're not sure who to reach out to, of course you can contact me, or feel free to email or call any of the individuals whose names are enumerated on that sheet, okay? Again, it's a very useful contact form, and I think in addition to the department heads and city staff, it also includes Riley from Saline Main Street, who would be responsible for our downtown, as well as John Olson at the Saline Area Chamber of Commerce. In addition to that, we have a questionnaire, a survey that relates to the main agenda item this afternoon, which is meeting our city's infrastructure needs, specifically funding our road maintenance projects. And again, in about 15 minutes, I'm going to turn the floor over to our DPW director and our city treasurer, as well as our city manager, Mr. Campbell, who just exited the room. They're going to share a presentation, which is really, really nicely done. They put a lot of time into this, and then they'll address any questions and concerns that you have. But we are looking for feedback from each and every one of you on how we can meet our infrastructure needs. There are also some envelopes to go along with that form in the event that you want to take the document home and fill it out. And I would also welcome and encourage you to take a few extras and give them to your neighbors, your family members, your friends. If they have thoughts on our roads and our infrastructure needs, we would be delighted to receive their feedback as well. Finally, there's a flyer on the back for Fisher House. Representatives from Fisher House could not be with us this afternoon. Fisher House is a national organization that is working to raise funds to build a home, a facility on the grounds of the Ann Arbor VA. And the concept is very similar to Ronald McDonald House at Mott's Children's Hospital. So when veterans or their families come to the Ann Arbor area for treatment, for group therapy, for a procedure, it gives them a comfortable, homey environment to stay in that is supportive of their needs. And I think it's a wonderful organization. I think we would be very blessed to have a facility like that in Washtenaw County. So take a flyer if you're able to support that organization, even in a small way. I can guarantee you it would be beneficial, but more importantly, it would greatly benefit vets and their families, not only in this area, but throughout the region and the country. So again, I want to welcome you here today. Again, I'm going to talk for about 15-20 minutes and then relinquish the floor to our DPW director and city treasurer, and they're going to go over this street strategy PowerPoint that they prepared. This is the second time they're presenting it, so I'm sure they've fine-tuned what minor issues there were a month ago. But again, as I stated earlier, it's a really well-done presentation, and I think you're going to find the information insightful. To my left, I have our shared priorities. I have 5 bullet points on there, and many of you are cognizant of the fact that those are the 5 bullet points that I ran on when I first announced my candidacy for mayor in March of 2012. And those are the 5 areas that I continue to focus on, and those are the 5 areas that staff and my council colleagues continue to focus on, because I think they have the most profound impact on our citizens' quality of life. So I'll be going over each of them briefly, and then I'll take your questions, and then, like I said, I'll turn it over to Mr. Fordyce and Ms. Bennett. So financial stewardship. The city of Saline has a long history of being very frugal, very conservative, and very strategic with tax dollars, and investing public funds in appropriate and prudent ways. And I'm really excited to announce, because this is a pretty significant paradigm shift from where we were when I was first elected to council. We recently considered our general operating budget for fiscal year 18. The budget is named for the fiscal year in which it ends. and staff was actually able to present to us a balanced budget. And again, I noted earlier, that's a pretty significant paradigm shift from where we were a few years ago. There were occasions where we started off hundreds of thousands, actually in a couple fiscal years, we were $1 million plus in the red. So that is a sea change from where we are at. It is a very, very positive sign. And again, I'll note that the city of Saline continues to invest funds in areas that make a big difference. And so if you were to look at our budget, a bulk of that is invested in public safety, in infrastructure, of course, in our human capital, not only the folks in the police department and at City Hall, but also our DPW staff and the employees at the wastewater treatment plant. So really, really critical needs. Again, that have a big impact on our businesses and on our citizens. I want to transition to economic development because of all the five issues that are enumerated on that board, that's probably the one that I'm most passionate about, because I think a lot of stuff flows from a healthy and diverse and robust economy. So I honestly, I do work probably every week on business attraction and retention. And as most of you know, we have some really exciting things going on. I'm really proud that we now have an Imagine Theater. My friend Jim Lowe over here is friends with the proprietor, Paul Glantz. It's their first location in Washtenaw County, and I can admit to you without reservation, it is the nicest movie theater in Washtenaw County. And I think that will breathe new life in that shopping center, which has had a 70+ vacancy for an extended, protracted period of time. We're getting a new boutique bakery in the Oak Shopping Center, which currently houses Ace Hardware and Powerhouse Gym. We have some exciting new businesses coming to our downtown. McPherson's Local, which will be an artisan market in the old Drowsy Parrot space. The former Oxygen Plus bicycle shop will be the Saline Cheese Shop, which will offer gourmet groceries as well as wine, craft beer, balsamics, olive oil, etc. The old Detroit Hot Dog will be a gourmet dessert station. What am I missing downtown? Of course, Mangiano's. Pete and Lori Termino recently retired, and that space is being converted into Barbecue 52, a very similar business model that exists, actually it's identical to what exists in downtown Chelsea. So we continue to work hard to attract new investment to this area. You'll also know that Liebherr Aerospace Automotive completed a significant expansion in the last 14 to 16 months. MMI, which is kitty corner from the rec center, is completing a significant expansion, and we believe that there'll be other industrial corporate citizens who are looking to expand and add individuals to their payroll in the coming months. So again, I want to be very, very clear on this, that the City of Saline is a business-friendly community, and we will work aggressively with businesses of all shapes and sizes to bring jobs, revenue, amenities, and services to our community. Because again, as I said earlier, that really has an impact on our quality of life. Support for public safety. We actually have a public safety official in the room with us. Boy, if your community is not safe, and not secure, or not perceived to be safe and secure, boy, that's just the tip of the iceberg. There are a lot of problematic, devastating things that will come from that sort of environment. And I'm really proud of our police and fire departments. They're competently led, and I can admit to you without reservation, for the size of our community, we have some really talented and dedicated professionals in each one of those departments. You'll probably know, and I'm the chair of the Saline Fire Board, which covers not only the city of Saline, but Lodi Township, Saline Township, and half of York Township. We recently added 3 new full-time positions within that department to give us more coverage. So every shift now, instead of just having 2 professional firefighters on duty, we have 3, and that's in addition to our paid on-call volunteers. That's not only good for the public safety, that's good for the officer safety as well. And that's we're maintaining a similar ratio in our police department. I will tell you, and I'll be asking council to approve this at our next council meeting, I am going to be asking my council colleague Jack Seo, who's the former deputy police chief in Saline, former deputy police chief in Ann Arbor, to lead a work group to investigate the feasibility of a police advisory board. There are a number of communities throughout the state, both large and small, that have police advisory boards that review policies, make budgetary recommendations, and work on community engagement. They've proven to be quite successful. I don't know if that model or approach will be beneficial to Saline, but I think we owe it to ourselves to investigate it and to do a little bit more research. So you will be hearing more about that in the coming months and weeks as well. Investment in our infrastructure, I don't want to spend a lot of time on that because that's the bulk of the discussion today. I will say, in addition to our streets, we have completed substantial work on our sidewalks. You'll have noticed in recent years we hired a professional contractor to come in and do grinding, and that eliminated, Jeff, approximately 85–90% of the defects in our sidewalk inventory.
Yeah, about 80% of your.
Okay, so that's where you had vertical separations where those sidewalk squares were uneven and they created a significant trip hazard. Those have been resolved at no cost to homeowners, and now we're beginning a process to resolve the outstanding 15–20% of the defects, and we're going to do that in sections throughout the city over the next 4 years. I also want to note, because a lot of people have been concerned about this, and rightfully so, our wastewater treatment plant. We completed a multi-million-dollar rehab of our facility, which modernized it, made it more efficient, and improved safety. But we do have some odor issues of late. And while it is a wastewater treatment plant and there will always be odors, the frequency and severity of the odors is simply unacceptable. So we have hired Webster Environmental. It's a company that has worked throughout North America, not only the continental 50 states, but North America, to identify deficiencies in wastewater treatment plants and to resolve smells and odors. They completed phase 1 of their review. They're coming back later this spring, summer to complete phase 2. And I think there's broad commitment among City Council to make the necessary investments once we have the data to mitigate some of these odor issues. Again, that has a direct bearing on quality of life, especially for those citizens who live in the vicinity of our wastewater treatment plant. Finally, openness and transparency in city government. Needless to say, I think I actually said this in the press release for this event. It shouldn't only be expected, I believe it's absolutely essential that elected officials and public officials, for that matter, make themselves accessible to the people that they represent. To talk about what they're doing, but also to address your questions and concerns, which is one of the reasons why I'm doing this, why I hosted this event this afternoon. This is actually my 3rd coffee hour of 2017. A couple other events that I want to make you aware of, or one in particular. On June the 16th, which is a Friday, from 8 a.m. to approximately 1 p.m., I am hosting my 6th annual senior conference at the Saline Senior Center. It is an all-day event. It is completely free. It includes breakfast and lunch, as well as some exciting breakout sessions and a government panel. If you are a senior and live anywhere in the Saline community, you are welcome and encouraged to attend. This event has grown and matured every year, and I get a lot of positive feedback about it. Again, it is free, but capacity is finite at the Senior Center, so you must RSVP, and I would encourage you to RSVP to the Senior Center as soon as possible if you're interested in attending this event. It really is a good event, and I'm not just blowing smoke. I think we do a nice job. Also, on the openness and transparency front, if you don't read the FYI newsletter that comes out quarterly with your utility bills, you should. There's a lot of pertinent information in there. And this survey that I'm distributing this afternoon will also be in the FYI newsletter that comes out later this summer, because we really do want feedback from our citizens and business owners about meeting our infrastructure needs. The other thing, if you have a smartphone, out of curiosity, how many people have smartphones? Just about everybody. You should download this free app. It's called See Click Fix. C-Click Fix. It's completely free to any Saline resident, and it's a great way for you to report problems, whether that be a pothole, whether that be a business or a residential property that hasn't mowed their lawn. It's a great way for you to communicate with city government problems that exist in our community. And we track that and we respond and we get your issue taken care of as expedient, we move on it as expeditiously as possible. So use that app again, C-Click Fix. It's completely free to anybody who lives in the Saline community. Okay? I went through that pretty quick. Thank you for bearing with me. Say again?
If you don't have a smartphone.
And if you don't have a smartphone, please utilize our website. And of course our Facebook page, because we update that on certainly a weekly basis, but we put posts and information on there sometimes daily. So again, that's also a great resource. I'm going to turn it over to Mickey, Joe, and Todd. Mickey, Joe, Todd, and Jeff, excuse me, unless there are questions for me. And I want to be cognizant of one thing. I know there are some people who have to leave. That's perfectly all right. These events are kind of people come and people go. I do have some new friends here who moved from Tennessee, is that right? Well, we welcome you to the Saline community. We're delighted to have you here. And small world, they went to college with my mom and dad. I will tell them that you said hello.
Please get your mom home.
Okay, I will. She's retiring this year, so she'll have time.
Good.
Okay. Well, I'll be around to answer questions at the end, but again, I'm going to turn it over to Mickey, Joe, and Jeff. If you want to use this microphone, you're welcome.
Okay, well, welcome. Jeff and I kind of tag team on this issue, but before we get into our infrastructure, I kind of want to briefly just go over currently what we have for our current resources, and for your information, all of this is based on my FY17 data, so the year that we're currently in. So when I refer to taxes and stuff like that, it's basically based on what we have levied for now. So the majority of our funds for our streets as Act 51 money, which is included from the Michigan Department of Transportation, and we collect that through the state of Michigan, and it's assessed on motor fuel, vehicle registrations, and other miscellaneous taxes. Over here it tells you how much money we get in those funds. We have two basic streets in Saline. We have our classification called major streets and local streets. This is the net that we get from the state for those streets. You can see our revenues and then what our expenses. And what our expenses in those categories and those funds include are maintaining those streets, snow plowing, clearing them, most of the street maintenance, and that's what's included in these expense numbers. We also currently, the voters passed last year a Washtenaw County street millage, which is $0.5 million, and for the city of Saline, that's up to $216,000 that we, the county levies that as part of their tax, and then when we complete a street project, we send the county the invoices, and they reimburse us back for that. For the average home in Saline, what that means is that, I need to also explain that with this new $0.5 million that we voted last year, 80% of that will go to the streets. 20% of it is going to go to the Washtenaw County parks. Now, we'll get 80% back directly in street maintenance. So when we submit invoices, we'll get directly 80% back. The 20%, this is the 80%. This is the total, this is the percentage. The 20% will go into the parks and recreation, and then as we develop and we have a project, then we can apply for that and get that money back as well. But it won't go directly to our streets, it'll go with our connecting paths or something like that, hopefully. And then in the past, the city of Saline has taken out a bond, or this is how we've taken care of street projects in the past. We've taken out a bond. As you can see right now, we are still collecting on the 2001 and the 2004 street bond. And we took and did different sections of the city and paid for that, did the bond, and we, as the principal and interest payments come through, that gets passed on to our residents on their tax bill. And this is the annual payment for FY17 was $214,000. And so for those taxpayers, it was about $48.44 per household that is going towards street debt. So on June 2024, yes, that's when we pay out those street tots. So as you can see, we took those out in 2000 and 2004, and we'll make the final payment 20 years later. Probably in time to replace that street again. Jeff, you can hit my next arrow. I don't know if it's me or you. So this is just a snapshot of our capital improvement plans. Part of our fiscal responsibility is we go through and we project out as far as we can on the capital improvements that we need in the city of Saline. We do this for all of our projects, but this snapshot is specifically for our major streets. We categorize the streets by need and Pager rating, and I'll let Jeff go into that a little bit later. But then we break it out by fiscal year. Most times you'll see, like here, you'll see this is the design and engineer work, and then the following year we'll actually do the infrastructure cost. So you can see that in 1 year alone, $910,000 expense that exceeds the amount that we get in the transportation funds. So the question that the city is asking you, and the mayor has on your survey, is how would you support paying for these funds? And we have some options, but I think the next shot. So this is our local streets, and as you can see, again, our local streets, which are the ones that you don't use to get in and out of the town, you know, more of your neighborhood streets and stuff like that. So this is just a sample of why we're now coming to you going, what are we going to do? How are we going to fund this? Taking the bond payment is an option, but we have some other options as well. What's our next slide, Jeff? Shoot. I'm going to turn it over to Jeff, and then he's going to go through the street stuff itself, and then we'll talk about some of our funding options at the end.
Hey there. I do want to apologize in advance. I've got some allergy things going on, so there might be a little bit of throat clearing during this presentation. The first thing we need to do is have a little engineering lesson. One of the methods we use to select projects for streets is our Pager rating, which is a system of visual surface inspections that through a research project at the University of Wisconsin, those visual defects relate to various structural and age-related conditions of the road. So by rating it that way, it helps you keep track of your inventory of streets, and then you can project how much longer they're going to last. So on the far axis there, we have the Pager rating. It's a 1 through 10 scale. And then on the bottom, we have how old the road is. And so, as you can see, typically a road will start out when it's young, has 10, and then as it ages, the Pager rating goes down and down and down. This line here is called the critical deterioration point. And that is a point in the pavement's life cycle that the way you take care of it changes. So when you're above the critical deterioration point, you're doing basically maintenance activities. When you get below it, now you're looking at more reconstruction type activities or replacement activities. So inexpensive, expensive. And then this line here is kind of what the rest of the presentation is based on. That's called the remaining service life, which is a term I don't really like the name of it because you would think when you get to the end of your remaining service life that the road is done. It's not really done at that point. It's just where you cross that threshold between maintenance and construction type activities. So what we did is took the entire street network of the city and averaged the remaining service life. And so we're right around a -1 right now. So our average street has passed that critical deterioration point and needs to be rebuilt in some way rather than simply maintained. And then projected that through the coming years. And this projection, you can see after 10 years, we're down close to a -3. This projection is based on our actual identified available resources for road maintenance. So maybe Joe went through those various sources we have. In addition to the ones shown on there, we're eligible for some federal grants that come come around every 4 to 5 years. So those grant years are these little peaks where we have a little bit more money on hand. But this is what will happen if we just spend what we have available to us now. We're going to be where we are, which is better than a lot of communities, but it isn't great. And we're just going to kind of slowly deteriorate over the years. So then we looked at some other options. And one option is to do nothing. Just stop spending money on road maintenance altogether. And you can see precipitously drop if we do that. We get down to a -12, which is pretty much a gravel road at that point. And then we looked at a couple of different investment levels. So this is increasing to $900,000 a year of money spent on road reconstruction and maintenance. And that holds about steady. So $900,000 a year is what we're looking at just to maintain status quo.
And on the bottom there, you'll see where I projected what that would cost in millage to generate that $900,000. And on the average residential home, that would be an additional, was it $301.62? Just so you have an idea how that would impact your pocket. Next one?
Yes.
Okay, hold on, what's next?
So 900,000 holds it steady. So then we looked at what just a little bit more. How does that impact things? And so at $1 million a year, we start to see a slow but steady increase in the quality of our roads. And this amount here, $1 million a year, that's pretty close to what we averaged during the bond years. When we 2001 and 2004, when we took out those road bonds, this is what we were doing every year for close to 10 years. $1 million a year, things just kept getting better and better and better. And then maybe Joe has down there what kind of millage it would take to raise those sorts of funds. So $340 per household.
About $60 more for a little bit of maintenance.
Yep.
But he's not done yet.
Not done yet.
He keeps giving me dream numbers.
Then at $1.2 million a year, a really strong and steady increase in the quality of our road network. We started, we go from our -1 up to a +2, which is well into the good range the scale. But of course, more road funding, more taxes, $372 per household, average household at this point. I'm not sure what's next.
What's next is our options. So, but you're probably going to have to answer questions. You can hear me all right, can you, Chase? Okay. So the options that we have are pay-as-you-go, which is pretty much what we're doing now, with what we have in our financial ability. Well, we could pay as we go by levying extra stuff, but to do that, we would have to do a charter amendment to authorize, because currently, we don't have enough money in the state of Michigan. We have a 15 mil limitation in our city, and we have to have special villages to address anything above and beyond that. Right now, we're using 1411 of our 15 mils to fund the other operations of the city, everything in the general fund. So there doesn't leave a whole lot of capacity left for any one of those scenarios. We gave all of them were over 3 mils. So for us to use any of those options, the 900, the 1 million, or the 1,000,002, we would have to do a charter amendment.
Joe, if I may real quick. And charter amendment, i.e. would be a proposal on a ballot, which the voters would have to approve.
Yes, to get anywhere near that 3 mils for that. The other option that we have are the options that we used in the prior years, using the debt issuance. But I do want to point out, like I said earlier, we're paying until 2024 on roads that we, were new in 2004. So here are some scenarios on how this accumulates, because we only take about $3 million out, we get it each for 3 years, and then we go into another 3-year debt. So each year, those additional payments would be coming on, and so the first year wouldn't be that bad, it would cost you $59.82, and then years 4 through 6 will add a little bit more, years 7 through 10 will add a little bit more, and in the long run, we've raised $9 million in 10 years. And over here, if we do it as we go, and we do the charter amendment, and we add the 3 mills, we will have raised $10 million in 10 years, and then we don't have any additional debt. It starts and stops at that point. So the other option is a special assessment, which we have to be careful with, because with the special assessment, you can only assess those people who are directly impacted. So if you live in the subdivision, and you wouldn't want the other people across town or the people, to pay for your subdivision street. So there are some caveats included in the special assessment levy. It is possible for some of our local streets that could be a consideration. Maybe, we could, but then what happens on that is the homeowner then, so it's not directly impacted on your tax bill, but if you live on that street, and say we're doing Hollywood Drive, if you live on Hollywood Drive, you're going to be paying your regular tax bill plus whatever that special assessment levy is. And in the event you don't pay that levy, it does become a lien on your property, and it's going to roll to your taxes anyway. So those are some of the funding options that the city is working on, trying to figure out the feedback from the community as to what's best. Does anybody have any questions on that?
I have a question.
Is the question period?
Yeah, we can, but
Are you two people engineers who know what you're doing?
I'm an engineer.
Okay, you're civil?
Yes.
Okay. And you have how many years' experience? 5, 10? I try to be civil. My specification is not civil engineering, but I've done developments. And I'm here because I saw the sign. And I'm absolutely angry at the way the people in Michigan build and maintain roads. I'm considering moving back to California. It's just that I hear lots of complaint, and I've talked to some of the people who are in the concrete business, and they're doing the main roads for the state. And they come up with all sorts of silly reasons. There's not a single thing on that list that says build them better and maintain them better and therefore make them cheaper. It's just that I live on Marl Drive. And I forget the name of the street that goes down.
East Los.
The main street off of 12. Oak Creek. It's just that, and I've been here 4 years now. And Oak Creek has got cold mix on it every year. That is absolutely the wrong way to maintain a road.
I'm sorry, that's what up?
Cold mix.
Yeah.
Does that mean something here in Michigan?
We call it old
I mean, it's a piece of cold mix from the plant, you put a shovel full in the hole, roll back and forth with a truck. There's a technology available where with a modified hot mix, which replaces the hole. But the big problem here is that I can't afford it. What number is it? 200, an additional $321 a year. I can't afford it. I don't think anybody in this room wants to pay it. Maybe other people cannot afford it either. But let's find a way to fix these on roads and build them correctly. Now, this 48 inches of compacted sand does not provide enough drainage under the road, which is the way supposedly we rebuilt 12. 48 inches of compact sand does not provide enough drainage to get rid of the frost heaving on that road. The Romans didn't build the roads that way. Why are we building them that way? Number one. Number two is let's get rid of this GVW. This is that most of the roads in the states are built to carry 80,000, 20,000 pounds per axle. We're up to 100,000, 13,000 pounds per axle, but we have no requirement how far apart the axles have to be. They're right next to one another. So let's fix that problem. Number two. Number three is that let's get to a road when it just begins to deteriorate. In Massachusetts, we use chip and tar very, very, very successfully. I don't see any of it here. seen any. So that means I haven't been on any county roads.
In town, we've looked at chip seals with our curb and gutter environment and our utilities that we have on the street. We find chip and seal difficult. There's a couple of roads where it's possible, but in most of our streets we can't do it. We do crack filling and which gives some of the benefits of chip and seal.
I've worked on crack filling game. I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
But
And we've expanded that process quite a bit.
I think the most important thing to do is that we need, what's not there is a change in technology. We need a change in technology. If it means we gotta limit trucks in Saline to 80,000 GVW, let's darn do it.
We don't have the authority to do that.
What do you mean? We can't put a sign up that says no trucks?
No.
On a side street, you can't ban trucks?
Under very limited circumstances. And
What's the limited
And
circumstances?
then if you did that without following those circumstances, you would lose this county source that.
Well, I'm not sure I want it.
No, the state one. Yeah.
No, I'm not sure I want the state money. I want a better road.
Well, we gotta have some state money. Right now, we're getting 200 and,
Now, wait a minute. It doesn't come from the state.
Yeah, it's not.
It comes from us.
but they would cut us off.
Well, then we won't buy it, well.
So how do you have
we'll
it?
see,
Yes.
we'll see.
I mean,
You know, but state money is not free. It comes from everybody. This is money from Washington is you get 70 cents on the dollar of what you get. What percentage of the money do you get from the county? I heard you say you got 70% of
half
that.
of them.
80%.
We get 80%, half of them.
What's the county doing for their 20%?
They're building trails and parks.
Non-motorized.
What?
Non-motorized.
Non-motorized.
Trails, pathways.
Oh.
And we-
I should go get a horse.
And we would also benefit
Bicycle.
for that on our projects.
I'm saying this, we probably cannot change all of the rules and regulations, but I think there is one thing I don't understand why we cannot build a better road in Saline than what they're building. I mean, I think the 12 that they just did was a horrible waste of money. Is that, do we have anybody in the city of Saline that knows how to look at a road design? Or have we ever gone to a consulting firm and getting an evaluation of how we should build a road?
Yeah, all of our street projects, we hire a consultant and we do geotechnical testing, we do borings through the roadway and evaluate the utilities and soil condition on the road. And we have those consultants design the pavement profile based on the results.
And did that happen as well?
Yes.
And so this geotechnical person is talking about 48 inches of compacted sand for under the road drainage? That doesn't work in the rest of the world.
And continuous edge drain and center line drain.
I mean, you know how the Romans built the road that lasted 700 years? They provided a lot of drainage under the road, each feet. It started out with large stones going back to small stones to broken stones. But anyway, this is that, I'm not going to, I probably can't handle or create anything, but as a citizen, I will neither support the politicians nor the city on something that doesn't show me that you're making a change.
Sure. And sure, that's why I organized this event, was to directly solicit feedback from the people that I represent. Because the status quo, in my opinion, is not acceptable, because our roads are going to rapidly deteriorate. So there has to be a paradigm shift. And we thought we would present objective information to the people that we represent and get feedback. And if your feedback is valuable, that's helpful. Thank you.
I have a question. Is this kind of a temporary thing? You cannot be in the positive at the end of the 10 years. If you're getting all these new homes and subdivisions like on Maple Road, the large piece of property that's for sale, the builder's going to buy and put new homes in. It's going to add to the tax base, and also, do you take that into consideration that you're going to get more money? And also, I thought the federal government provided the state of Michigan money for roads. Is that considered the state money we're getting, it's really coming from the federal government. And the third question I have is, do you do bids on this, or does the city do the roads? Who does the repairing of the roads and the building?
You all three questions there?
Why don't you start with the last one, it's about the bidding process.
Yes. Both the design work and construction work are bid. So it's a competitive bidding process. It's a qualified competitive bidding process. It's not going necessarily award to the lowest price, we award to the lowest qualified bid. So we do like a qualification review of our design consultants and the construction firm. The money that the feds send to the state, the vast majority of that gets spent on state highways.
Which includes US 12.
Which includes US 12 is a state highway.
Here's when some we're going to back in with some unity. To that point, some of the federal dollars are some of the grant programs we are able to use that in some of our major streets as well for assistance.
Yeah, there are a couple of categories of federal money that we're eligible for. I mentioned federal grants in one of those funding scenarios. That about every 4 or 5 years we're eligible for federal money. And we can only spend that money on a limited number of roadways. There's rules that come with that money. So we can spend it on Ann Arbor Street, Maple, Mills, and a couple of our other main streets, but we can't spend that money on local streets. So the only outside funding source we have for local streets is the Michigan Transportation Fund.
And to address your first question about the new development, so when a new development comes in, like the one in Maple, for instance, the developer will pay for the construction of those roads and then dedicate those roads to the city of Saline for us to maintain. These numbers are based on my current tax roll. So it will, these dollars could go down per household when we have those values added to the tax roll. But the tax, so if that house is built, let's say they build that house tomorrow, that value will not come on our tax roll until next fiscal year, because in the state of Michigan, December 31st is tax year. So it's whatever is built as of December 31st that we can capture taxes on. So we have a lot of development coming in Saline, and we're super excited, and I'm super excited to try to balance the budget with the development next year. But, so that's why this is based on my current revenues, based on our current infrastructure, and I had no idea how to project it as to how quickly these developers are gonna build, so it's basically on what we had as of FY fiscal year 17. But yes, you are exactly correct. Once those houses are built, that will help offset the tax base, which will help reduce that per home cost, but it also is going to take that amount that we're getting from the state for maintenance and spread that out a little bit more.
So there's no really risk to me, I feel, of buying a house now. I feel that it's going in a good direction. I could buy a house and feel confident I'm not ready at the end of the year get really burned more than what you're projecting, because we are having new money coming in.
Can you give you a little context? So,
It's,
so the reality is, former home school property over on the west side, it's slated for 27 homes. I think maybe all but 3 or 4 are sold, and the majority of them are being either up or in the process of being built. So I think the average home sale there is about $310,000. So the taxable value is essentially half of that. And so 155,000 times 16.28 mils, that's what we pay. So as a homestead, if that's your homestead, the homestead exemption, so you pay, I think the total tax bill for non-homestead is 62. Okay, so homestead is 47.6206 mils that you pay on. Of that 47, only 16 of it, 16.28 comes to the city. So based on 16.28, so when your tax bill's bigger, we get a portion of it. Right. And so based on 27 homes, 310,000 cash value, you're talking about 16.2 bills, about $68,000. So while it's not, I mean, it's not a slap in the face, but it's right, when you're talking $10 million, it's a small amount. But it sort of does go towards the positive and helping. But what they do with, to get Joe's point, when those developments, the majority of those developments come online, they will be public streets, so they'll be adding to the overall cost to maintain the public street system.
Let me, if I may, and Mr. Campbell is absolutely correct that the impact is somewhat nominal, but I should have addressed this when I was talking about economic development. Again, in addition to fostering an environment where both large and small businesses want to locate in the community and ultimately thrive in the community, the new signs of life that we're seeing in the housing market are very positive and indicative of a community that's moving in the right direction. You cited the proposed development on Maple, the old Escott property adjacent to Echo Court, which will actually be considered at tomorrow night's planning commission meeting at 7 p.m. Of course, there's Cypress Woods, the old Hope School property. There's Curtis Bluffs, the condos behind Oakwood Cemetery. There's the Fairview development on the other side of Grove Street. Of course, there's luxury apartments that are going up to the corner of Waterworks and Arbor Street. Again, the impact, while relatively nominal, it is positive, and again, at least in my opinion, it's signs of a community that is beginning to thrive.
The only thing I would like to see is, I want to know the area. What is the area around Saline? Maybe you could provide the community with that. Where we can actually see the area inside where those roads are going to be.
Okay.
You know, like how far does it go out, maybe Monroe Street?
Okay. You put your email address on there?
Yes.
I can get you some visuals. That should be a problem. You have an email too. Mr. Pastor Tuttle, yes.
I think, Joe, would you go back one slide?
Sure.
And Jeff, could you run for me that, where it says debt issuance, how that works out? We're gonna pay this over a period of 20 years? Is that how it is? And how is that?
So there'll be 10 years of construction, and then an additional 10 years of payment after that.
15, it would be 15-year bonds.
15 years.
So what this calls for is.
This is actually 20. Oh, yeah, you're right.
So the first 3-year bond carries into the second stage.
Well, that was correct, that's correct. So 1 through 3, years 1 through 3, years 4 through 6, years 7 through 10. So each one of those would be a 15-year bond.
And we do them in intervals because you can only borrow, once you borrow the funds, you have so many years. So what we tend to do is take $1 million a year. So we would take it in 3 different intervals. So it would be the first 3 years we do $3 million, but it's the second is year 6 or 4 through 6 we do the second and third. That's why it's staggered like that.
So like year 7, we're actually paying then for, we say $7 million. Is that right? Let's go out. Because the bond would.
Yes.
Right, you'd be paying for that first year's bond,
Yes.
1 through 3, and then you'll also be paying on the 4 through 6. And then in the year 7, actually will start, it's typically 6 months or better before you start paying interest on it.
But this is the cumulative payment.
Oh, that's cumulative.
Yes, that
Yes.
is cumulative.
Yeah, so that's the whole payment.
Again, that's based on current rates.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, it would be the 59 plus the 190, it's the total of this cumulative.
Anything else, Pastor Tuttle?
No,
No. Jim?
I don't know if you've driven Tebow Lane or whatever it's called out here between the 2 schools. On the way here, I hit 2 chuck holes I thought might cause tire damage.
Tebow Lane is a private road that's owned by the schools. So it's not part of this
And
discussion.
it is slated actually this summer for part of their bond, the school's bond project. That, my understanding is that would be reconstructed this summer.
But he's in emergency repair right now.
Yeah, well, that.
Jim, I think when they, when they close the existing parking lot at the senior center and redirect us near wherever the schoolhouse, I think it's going to be worked on simultaneously. That's my understanding, that's what's been communicated to me.
I needed it 5 years ago.
Yeah, 10 years ago. Can I, do you mind if I put you on the spot for a second? Would you like to share any remarks?
For those.
I'm sorry, Doug Fuller, the chair of the Washtenaw County Road Commission, a friend and somebody who's very passionate about roads. Hence the title and the responsibility that he has. We're delighted to have you here. Anything to put you on the spot, or anything you'd like to add?
Presentation is accurate. I'm certainly sensitive to comments of the gentleman from California, where 25 works for 30 years.
Actually, I come from Massachusetts.
Okay. Well, no, you said you were compared to California, so you made a point about California.
No, that's where I'm going.
Please. But anyway, the only thing I would comment is I had a lot more miles of roads to talk about than you guys did. Lots of them. And I would make the comment on the county village that we all voted on, that 80% goes to roads. And it was, as far as the county road commission, which did not create that village, by the way, but the county roads commission made it clear to everybody that we could reach out to that that portion that came to us would be used on the county's primary road system. So not on what are called local roads. The 20% was I want to say, that we, the road commission, wanted that village to be on the ballot, to be sure. The day before the county board voted on it, the county board members made it clear that they would not support the village if there was not a 20% set aside for non-motorized. And they chose, when they did the language, and it's certainly their choice, to make that 20% take off the top, fundable only to the county parks department. Right? So the county parks administers that 20%. In the case of the cities, throughout the county, that 20% is returned to the cities dollar for dollar. So if that half mil in the city of Saline created $100,000, I have no idea what it is, but if that number happened to be true, then $100,000 would go directly to the city. Does not pass zero. None of it goes to county road. The county road, it goes to the taxing authority that created the funds. So the city of Saline, city of Chelsea, city of Dexter, city of Ann Arbor. Dollar for dollar, whatever that dollar amount was.
But
But that 20%, I'm sorry,
not designated for parks, though.
no, the 80% has to go to.
I know, but the 20% that you're saying,
Does not go to parks, it has to be used for non-motorized.
well,
Ways.
okay, but, you know, parks off.
It cannot be parks, it
I'm
has to be.
sorry,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, rail trails, that kind of thing.
It could be rail trails, it could be anything, but it has to be a linear progression for non-motorized vehicles. Okay. The 80%, or that portion of it that comes to us, we use on primary road maintenance. Because a very short story, if you happen to live on a rural county road, Johnson Road, southwest corner of Saline, that road received $1,500 per centerline mile per year for maintenance of that road. That's all there is. That is for all of the maintenance. Now, last winter, we didn't quite spend $1,500 per mile to plow the snow on most of the roads, but most of the years we do. And that means there is no money
For the road.
for the road. You can't put fresh gravel on it, you can't trim the trees, you can't cut the grass on the roadside, you can't repair the culverts, nothing. Okay, so what we have done over the last 50 years is shift money away from the primary roads, like Maple or Ann Arbor, Saline, or whatever, and send that over to the local roads. So when we asked the county to consider funding, putting something on the ballot to raise money, we told the county board that we were going to use that money for primary roads, and they agreed with us. We gave them a list of exactly of every project that we were going to spend the money on. So,
That's,
that's all you get for.
Did you get the money?
Certainly.
Good.
The voters don't vote in the tax, so.
yeah. And Doug is absolutely right and correct about the process. While he did not serve on the work group, I believe your colleague Bill McFarland did, and actually is currently the chair. I represented cities on a work group that made the recommendation to the county board. And while I'm not particularly thrilled with 20% going to non-motorized pathways, that was the sweetener that was required to get it on the ballot. That's just the reality.
All we gotta do is is mobilize the taxpayers, or the voters, motivate the voters to vote for where it's gonna do us good. Unfortunately, we got too many young voters who don't understand what happens. It's just the solution to that is difficult.
Yeah, well, it's critically important that every voter be well informed, especially on ballot proposals, because there's nuance and complexity, and if you don't understand it, there can be significant ramifications. Other questions?
I just real quickly wanted to
Please.
show that chart that was an addition that we did. This is based on the, again, for the average homeowner in Saline, this is your principal resident, meaning that you live here. This is all of the taxes that we collected in Saline and then distribute on to other, places. So this larger piece right here, this is the 14.6 mils that we talked about, that stays in the city to fund your parks and everything in our general fund. And then all these other ones that are listed here are all the other levies that you pay on your tax bill that come, that you write this check out to the city of Saline, but then I write it, and I distribute it to all these other sections. These two pieces that are exploded out here, this is what we're currently paying in the city of Saline. This is what you're currently paying on roads, including the county road up here, and then our street debt for those 2001 and 2004 street levies that we have. So that's just a real quick snapshot of where your tax dollars here in Saline are going. Because a lot of people, when they come in and write me that check, well, I heard you a lot of money. But I'm only keeping this.
So, let me real quick, I want to reference again the questionnaire that hopefully you all received or will pick up on your way out. So as it relates to the presentation this afternoon, I would really appreciate getting some feedback from each and every one of you. And I would also appreciate, if you're so inclined, if you took a few of these home and distributed them to your spouse, your neighbors, your coworkers, especially if they live within the corporate limits of the city of Saline. And feel free to be as specific as you like. You're given the option, of course, you can choose more than one, about how we move forward on meeting our infrastructure needs, which is to levy a millage, a special assessment, budget cuts, or to incur additional debt. And then we ask you some specific questions. If you'd like to provide additional comment, feel free to type up something or to provide some thoughts on the back. There are some return envelopes. You can stick your flyer questionnaire in the mail, or you can save the 40-some-odd cents on the stamp and bring it directly to City Hall. And whoever assists you at the front counter, just let them know that you're dropping off something for the mayor and it will be put in my mailbox.
We also have 3 drop boxes available for you to drop correspondence in. There's one behind our police department at the municipal building. There's one at the municipal lot behind Tober Bank. And then there's one in our lobby if you wanted to come in the building and drop them in the slot. So take some of those envelopes and drop them in any of those boxes and save yourself a postage.
questionnaire and a description about the questionnaire, and then probably also a reference to our city website, because I think we're going to put this information on the city website in the FYI newsletter. Okay, so you'll have another opportunity to fill it out if you choose not to do it today. And again, putting the survey aside, be sure to read the FYI newsletter because there's a lot of timely, pertinent information. And staff puts a significant effort into drafting that and putting it together on a quarterly basis.
I'm going to change one.
Please.
Staff pointed out, you were, I guess, you right, pointed out that you use the C Click Fix app on the phone.
Yes.
Shame the plug here. The city of Ann Arbor uses exactly the same system. The county of Portsmouth Road Commission uses exactly the same system. And the app is smart enough to know where you are. So if you're driving from here to Ann Arbor, for example, and see something that should be repaired, if you go to your C-Click Fix thing, it will automatically send it to, in the case that you're passing on a county road, it will go directly to the foreman who has the responsibility for where you are. It will also, of course, you can tell it what you want to tell. If you happen to be driving someplace, that app will figure out where you are. I don't know how you guys do it, when it comes to one of our foremen, he's obligated, and all of our foremen right now are, back then, but those foremen are obligated to respond to a service request within 24 hours. He's also required to tell you when he fixes it.
Is 4 shovels of coal mix a fix?
It could be that what you did was report it lot, because that's the way, whether I agree with what you're saying. I don't disagree with that. However, that is the way that the state of Michigan funds. They don't fund other ways to do it. So, we do what we do.
What can I do to help you change that?
We can talk later. That's outside the parameters of this town.
Well, I would say this, and I know Doug is an advocate for this approach as well. I think if everyone looked objectively at the facts, we would all concede, part of the expression, that the state's approach to meeting our infrastructure needs has been lackluster, ass backwards for many years, and there has not been the appropriate leadership. And so I would encourage all of our citizens to reach out to their elected officials, the governor, their state senator, their state representative, and advocate for some legislative changes or some additional funding. It's vitally important.
The shameless plug, we need to get rid of journalists. That has done more to harm the state of Michigan than any single thing that has ever happened. And I would include the British invasion of 1812.
Yes, sir.
In one piece of news is that the State Highway Commission has chosen to pave some recent roads in bituminous concrete, asphalt, instead of concrete, because the asphalt is easier to repair. It's properly built. There's no road that lasts as long as a properly built concrete road with saw joints. I've not seen, I've only been in Michigan for years. I drive maybe 30,000 miles a year, most of it in Michigan. I've not seen a road with saw joints in it.
So how does Holland, Michigan get paved roads? Right? How do they afford that?
I can help because I'm alone at Colorado, which is not. My freshman year, which is a long time ago, the Prince Corporation, actually, that was the first time they provided funding, and they did, actually, they recirculate the time, I believe it was wastewater, and through the heat off the sidewalks, now it's supposed to expand. And they have power, they have their own electric utility, and they use steam from that electric plant, they do the same similar.
So it's a combination of them owning a utility and a significant donation from, you said,
Well, that's what started it, but then I don't know exactly how it's all private. I don't think it's all private. There's, I mean, you're talking a community 3 times our size, and while certainly Saline is a very affluent community, it's even more so now. So there's
One final thing, and I'll entertain any questions that you may have, whether it's related to infrastructure or not. One of the issues that I failed to mention, I'm not exactly sure which one of my 5 bullet points would fall under, but I did want to acknowledge one of my council colleagues who's in the audience, Kristen Mitchell, who will be chairing another work group that was established at our last council meeting, comprised of herself, Councilwoman McClellan, actually Ms. Bennett from city staff, and then representatives from the school, Main Street, the chamber, to begin developing some infrastructure for a community foundation. And one of the things that I'm keenly aware of is that Saline, as the city manager just mentioned, is an affluent community, but more significant is that we are a very generous community. And many of our neighbors, Ann Arbor, Dexter, Marl, have community foundations. Many of them have existed for decades and seek donations and have funded a whole host of initiatives and projects that have benefited the community. And I thought that it was timely as well as appropriate to look into that and potentially establish our own organization. So Councilwoman Mitchell, we met with Councilwoman McClellan, and I'm sure you'll be hearing more in the coming months. Any other questions? Well, again, yeah, real quick, sir. All right, let me say something. You can take as much time as you want. Excuse me. Do be sure to take one of the questionnaires, sign in, and again, there's the staff contact form as well as some flyers about Fisher House as well as additional refreshments that I would be delighted to.